Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to break down one of the most shocking shifts in the global conversation about the war. Ukraine's latest attack that has not only changed battlefield dynamics, but has forced world leaders, analysts, and military experts to rethink everything they believed about this conflict. This was not just another strike. It was not just another warning or demonstration of strength. It was a moment that changed the global narrative because suddenly Ukraine was no longer seen as a nation trying to defend its territory, but a nation capable of rewriting global strategies, intelligence assumptions, and political calculations. Across the world, think tanks, militaries, and governments are analyzing this operation and asking how it was possible. Today, we explore the events, the global impact, and the new reality that has emerged. For months and even years, many believed the world had already seen everything in this war. Analysts predicted the limitations of both sides, and different international organizations assumed the war would continue in a slow and predictable manner. But this attack shattered those assumptions. It proved that Ukraine was not just reacting, but actively dictating the pace and trajectory of the conflict. From the moment the attack was launched, global military leaders started to reassess their predictions. They realized that technological advancements, battlefield intelligence, and new military strategies were evolving faster than anyone anticipated. Ukraine took a bold risk and transformed it into a strategic breakthrough that reverberated across the world. This attack revealed how quickly modern warfare is evolving, where speed, precision, and strategic timing can decide the outcome more than traditional military strength. The first reactions from international experts were disbelief, followed by immediate attempts to understand how such a complex operation was even executed. There were questions about the technological level behind the strike, the intelligence gathering, and the coordination required. Many had underestimated Ukraine's growing capabilities and the support it received from global defense partners. The advanced systems used in the attack demonstrated that Ukraine has entered a new phase of warfare. High-precision, long-range, multi-front strikes that can destabilize an opponent without sacrificing heavy resources. This shift has forced global superpowers to reconsider the balance of power and the future of military development. Now, every country is watching closely because this attack did not just affect the battlefield. It affected global strategies. As reports emerged, one thing became clear. This operation was not just a reaction to aggression. It was a calculated message to the world that Ukraine was capable of reshaping military and political equations. Countries that once doubted Ukraine's capabilities are now rethinking their earlier positions. Political analysts are now focusing on what comes next, because this attack showed that Ukraine has the initiative. The narrative that Ukraine was always one step behind has completely changed. Instead, the world witnessed a strategic operation that required insight into global intelligence, advanced coordination, and the confidence to strike at the right moment. The global discussion shifted from whether Ukraine could win to how far Ukraine can push this momentum. Even the media coverage transformed. Rather than portraying Ukraine as a country in constant defense, the story shifted toward Ukraine's strategic innovation. This change in narrative matters because public perception influences foreign policy decisions and the direction of global support. Countries around the world began to assess how this attack changes the future of security alliances, the role of NATO, and the involvement of major powers. Suddenly, this war was no longer just a regional conflict, but a global chessboard where every move carries global consequences. One of the most significant outcomes was the reaction from military industries and international defense corporations. The attack forced them to reevaluate the technologies that had been considered dominant. It highlighted weaknesses in existing defense systems and revealed how new technologies can bypass even the strongest structures. This sparked an international debate on what the next generation of military power will look like. No longer is it just about tanks, aircraft, and artillery. The future belongs to intelligence, precision, speed, and hybrid warfare. Ukraine's strike proved that a modern army can be smaller and still create massive impact through innovation. Governments around the world began holding emergency meetings to study the operation. Defense analysts started comparing it to past military campaigns and historical turning points. Experts called it a moment where the future was revealed. It became clear that traditional strategies are becoming outdated. The global narrative shifted because countries realized that conflicts would now be determined by technological superiority and strategic unpredictability. This attack became a message to every nation that the battlefield has changed forever. The ability to disrupt an opponent's infrastructure and defenses without launching a full-scale invasion is now an essential element of modern warfare. The global strategic balance also shifted because this attack challenged assumptions about Russia's capabilities. For years, Russia was seen as having overwhelming military superiority in certain areas. But this operation exposed vulnerabilities and gaps that many believed were impossible. It forced global intelligence agencies to revisit their assessments. Suddenly, the question became not whether Ukraine can defend itself, but whether Russia can maintain control and stability in regions it considered secure. This reversal changed the political and military dialogue around the world. Nations realized that the future of the conflict is unpredictable, and the outcome is no longer determined by traditional power measures. The impact extended beyond military and political circles. Financial markets reacted to the news. Energy sectors began preparing for possible disruptions. Nations dependent on global trade started analyzing the risks. This attack sent shockwaves throughout diplomatic communities as leaders began adjusting their strategies. The influence of this single operation was felt in every sector. It reminded the world that war is not just fought on the battlefield. It affects global infrastructure, financial stability, and diplomatic relations. It highlighted how interconnected every nation is and how a single strike can push global systems into uncertainty. As world leaders responded, the discussions were no longer about simply providing support or negotiating peace. They were about the new direction of international security. NATO officials analyzed how this attack strengthens the alliance and what future assistance might look like. Governments began considering long-term strategies for defense cooperation and technology sharing. Ukraine's position became stronger not just on the battlefield, but also in global diplomacy. The shift in narrative meant that Ukraine was no longer dependent on support. Instead, it became an active player shaping global policy. International reactions also showed that perceptions matter as much as military victories. This attack was a psychological turning point. It signaled to the world that Ukraine is not weakening but evolving. It demonstrated confidence, capability, and strategic planning. Global audiences witnessed a nation that refused to surrender, even under immense pressure. This shift in morale spread beyond Ukraine. Support grew stronger because the world saw the possibility of a different outcome. Nations that were hesitant began to see opportunities for strategic alliances. This was not just a battle for territory, it was a battle for the global narrative. The attack changed the story in Ukraine's favor. Experts remind us that wars are not just fought with weapons, They are one with ideas and innovation. Ukraine's attack proved that adaptability and intelligence are the ultimate strength. The world learned that traditional power is no longer the only measure of success. Technology, information, and strategic thinking can outperform even the most powerful military forces. This realization forced military academies and strategic institutions to rethink training methods and battlefield strategies. The next generation of warfare will rely on information dominance, cyber operations, and precise coordinated strikes. Ukraine's attack became the reference point for future military planning. For many countries, the attack redefined the perception of national defense. It demonstrated that small nations can challenge major forces through innovation and collaboration. It showed that alliances and shared intelligence can give a strategic advantage that traditional armies cannot match. Global leaders now understand that defense does not rely on size but on adaptability. Ukraine proved that courage, innovation, and strategic planning can overcome overwhelming odds. The world began to question the old definitions of power and looked for new models of security. This attack also brought attention to the resilience of the Ukrainian people. For years, they have lived under constant threat, yet they continue to adapt and overcome. The world witnessed a nation that does not back down. Their determination and unity became an example for the world. The global narrative shifted because Ukraine showed that national identity and resilience can become strategic weapons. When a country is fighting not just for land, but for survival, the strength becomes immeasurable. This new perception gave Ukraine a strategic advantage in global diplomacy. As the war continues, the world is now preparing for a new phase. The attack showed that no one can predict the future of this conflict. It proved that a single moment can change the global narrative and shift the geopolitical balance. The world now watches for the next move, knowing that every operation has the potential to reshape global politics. This is not just a conflict between two nations. It has become a test of global alliances, technological advancements, and strategic thinking. Ukraine's attack has set a new standard for modern warfare and geopolitical influence. In the coming months, we will continue to see the global narrative evolve. Nations will adjust their strategies, military powers will develop new systems, world leaders will analyze every move in this conflict. But one thing is certain, the world can no longer underestimate Ukraine. This attack proved that innovation and determination can redefine the global landscape. The world now recognizes that Ukraine has changed the course of history. This moment will continue to shape political decisions and military strategies for years to come. The global narrative has shifted, and there is no going back.